This video is directed at the Australian Trust or Superannuation Trust, Ray H, Sarah D, and other concerned parties, Tanya Smith and Jay England. I'm going to explain some facts here that obviously needs to be explained to what happened. That Tanya Smith and Jay England they have no idea what happened at all. So I'm going to explain it through a video. And if you don't believe that, I don't know what you will believe. And quite honestly, I don't care what you believe. So it goes like this. The first thing is, Tanya and Jay, did I know about your mother, my wife, gave Jay Yahweh-Jesus' water? No, didn't know at all. Didn't know at all until it was too late. Simple as that. Okay, because I was sitting outside, and as I've stated through other videos, everything that I do, everything from the day I was born right until this second has been documented. I've got witnesses for everything. Everything. If you don't believe me, go and ask them. And the best thing about my witnesses is this. As I've also stated, they hate my guts. They hate my soul with a passion. So they're not going to lie on my behalf. And it's that simple. So I was sitting outside with a man by the name of Wayne, and his mother, Sandra, was inside. And you remember there, Michelle's flat in Brisbane, okay, the kitchen. Sandra was closest to the window. Michelle was about probably 2 meters away from her. And Wayne and I were outside sitting, talking and that. And I'm closest to the door, the back door. And Michelle's going, yeah, I just gave Jay a bottle of Yah's water. And I was like, what? I said, there it is, Michelle. Expect the police to be here sometime today. They will be. That's a fact. And she was crying at the time because she thought, and she did. She done the right thing. But at the same time, as I said to her, Michelle, that's deception. What you've actually done is an action of deception. You never forewarned him what Yah's water's all about. And she goes, I don't care. He's got it in him now. And that you do, Jay. And that you do. So we'll just go back a bit in time to understand how the police come a part of this. Well, I don't know the roads in Brisbane. Jay and Tanya do. But where your mother lived, down the road, there's that shopping centre. And we were going up towards the lights to turn right to go down to Michelle's place. And as we're going there, Yah said to me, go get a pie. And I'm like, okay, Michelle, you need to go get us a pie. And she knows, as everybody knows, I don't eat in the daytime. It sends me to sleep. And she said, oh yeah, okay, we'll just go do this first, okay, then we'll go and do it. I said, no, Michelle, go and get me a pie right now. And literally we're at the lights, and she's taking it all jokingly. Totally a joke. Yep, no worries. And I've just leant forward, and this, what I'm about to explain, is in Michelle's document, Meeting John. That's under every single YouTube video. Read it, it's actually in there. And I've leant forward and I said, well, I told her. What do you want more can I do? And anyway, we went down, and I said, as soon as we turned to the corner, I said, Michelle, you've gone against me. Something really bad is going to happen today. I don't know what it is, but something full on's going to happen today. And that time period, obviously, she was still learning. She had no comprehension who I was or who I am. And so she took everything as a joke, okay, that Michelle, fun-loving Michelle, as she did. And anyway, as we turned the corner, I said to her, Michelle, something really bad's going to happen today. I don't know what it is, but you've gone against me. I told you to do something and you didn't. Okay, and like I said, she took it as a joke. We got back to Michelle's place. You've got to remember, at that point right there, Michelle and I weren't together. Right at that point. It was not until probably about another 2 weeks later we got together. Okay? Become husband and wife. And anyway, we got back to Michelle's place, okay? And she's going, I've got to go do something. I'm going, yeah. She says, when I come back, we'll go get your pie. And I said, it's too late, Michelle. It's literally too late. It's you didn't do it there and then. It's too late. And she goes, but you don't eat in the day. I said, exactly. So it wasn't me telling you. And she goes, oh, okay. Anyway, she's gone off. And that's when she went to Jay's place. And she filled up Jay's water bottle full of Yahweh-Jesus' water. Then she's come back. And this is where Wayne and I were sitting out the back. And I'm closest to the door. And Michelle, like I said, Sandra's closest to the window. Michelle was about where the fridge was. And she was starting to cry. And I'm looking at her and I felt like, whoa, what's going on? Because I had all this feeling for Michelle, but I couldn't say anything at the time. Okay, and I'm looking at her going, you all right? And she's gone, oh, I just filled up Jay's water bottle. And like, I left it there for him, said, oh, son, can you drink this water? It's going to help you and all that. And I've just gone, what did you do? And I've jumped up and I've walked inside and I said, what the fuck did you do, Michelle? And she's looking and she's crying, okay? And she goes, well, I just gave Jay some water, Yah's water. I said, you shouldn't have done that. Does he know about it? She says, no, he doesn't know. I was like, mate, expect the police here, Michelle, in about 3 or 4 hours. They're either going to arrest you or they're going to charge you with charges. Okay? And it's that simple. And she goes, you reckon? I said, no, you went against me today and I told you that something bad's going to happen to you because you went against my words. What was it? 4 hours later. Literally, knock at the door. Who was it? The Queensland Police serving a domestic violence order from Tanya and Jay to stay away from Tanya and Jay. Okay? And to turn up to court in like a month's time or something. Okay? To defend the charges. Anyway, this is written. Read the book of John. It's written right there. I wasn't in jail yet. He's got his little camera right there. The next day, we've woken up in the morning. Okay, the police left and all that. And I said, there you go, Michelle, I told you something bad was going to happen. You got to start listening to me. And she's like, you're right. Like, what's going to happen? I said, basically, they're going to throw a domestic violence order. Jay and Tanya are going to throw a domestic violence order on you and for you to keep away from them. She goes, but they're my son and daughter. I said, it doesn't matter. It's irrelevant. Okay, it's put through the Queensland courts. So if you want to break it, you will go to jail. Okay, and I told her exactly what was going to happen if she proceeded forward. So did I know anything about that? No, I didn't know a thing about that at all. Because if I would have known about that before she'd done it, I would have said to her, don't even go think about doing that, Michelle, without informing Jay beforehand. Because what your actions are about to do is called deception. And it's that simple. It is deception. So the next day we woke up in the morning, I jumped in my computer to do my work, and bang, the police were knocking at the door. And they came for me now. And I was like, okay, what do you want? And they're through the back door, they arrested me, took me away, released me, come back. And I said to Michelle, I said, it just is what it is, okay? It just is what it is, literally. And anyway, Michelle went to court. She got a 5-year restraining order put on her to keep away from Tanya Smith and Jay England through the Queensland courts, through the Queensland Police, through Tanya and Jay England, or Tanya Smith and Jay England. So there's a 5-year restraining order in place still to this day. What do you think? Because Michelle's not here in flesh, that it's just null and void, Tanya. I don't care what the Queensland Police say about it. It's irrelevant to me what they say. So I got arrested, okay, for a parking ticket and unlicensed driving that was dealt with close to about probably 5 to 7 years prior to this, okay? And anyway, my screen just went black. Anyway, we found another house up in Hervey Bay. We went up to Hervey Bay, moved into the house up in Hervey Bay. Sandra was there at the same time. Then Sandra left, Wayne left, under different circumstances, won't go into. But they're the witnesses, Tanya and Jay, that I knew not a thing. So we went back to, this is where Michelle started to really question what was going on. Because I'm explaining all this stuff and it's out there, obviously. Totally obviously. And I explained to her, this is what's going to happen in court. Yah always gives me the dreams just beforehand so I know what I'm about to face. So I face it. We went to court. We drove down from Hervey Bay to Brisbane, went to the Pine Rivers courthouse, walked in there. I'm sitting there. My solicitor sitting next to me because they demanded I have a solicitor. The prosecution, being a police officer, senior sergeant, was standing up and he's at his pew and he's reading a document. And he's reading the document and I'm looking at him and I'm reading his face. And we're going to go and say it. Say it. And he's reading it, he's going, he's looked at me, he's looked at the document, and he's going, is this all true? I'm going, I have no idea what you're reading. What are you reading? He goes, you know what I'm reading? He goes, yeah. He goes, what, do you stand still with this? I said, of course I do, it happened. It happened. So I can't not stand with it. It's the fact. He's going, well, I'm not reading that out. That charge is dismissed. And that was the unlicensed driving, because I told him some certain stuff to the officer that wrote the ticket, and he documented all of that. Thank God, thank myself, that he documented all of that. Now, my solicitor, he's saying, well, what's that about? So I explained it to him, and he's going, what? Who are you? I said, doesn't matter who I am. Ask him. Okay? And the officer, he's looking at my solicitor now going, that there is dropped, and he's held up the document. Okay, he goes, that's there, that charge is dropped. And he's going, so it's only a parking ticket. Okay, he goes, well, yeah, it's only a parking ticket. Okay, so that was over and done with in 30 seconds. Got a fine, $2,500 fine for a parking ticket. Insane. Anyway, I said to the prosecution, so can I have copies of those documents? I need copies of those documents for my records. And he's going, yep, no worries, you can get it off his solicitor. Okay, yep, we got out there, got photocopies of it, put it in my pocket, walked out. And I explained to Michelle, she goes, what were you charged for? And I explained this, and I explained to her on the doc, because you got to remember, these papers are in my pocket. We had Zappy and Roxy then, okay, our dogs. We got into the car, we started driving, and I explained to her what happened in court. And she's looking, and she goes, well, is that on the document? And I said, yeah, that's the one that he dismissed. He wasn't going to say what was on this document to the court, to an open court. And and she's like, huh? No. And I was reading her face. I'm a master in body language, as you know. And I'm reading her going, and in her face was saying, John, you're a liar. What you're saying, it is not true. And I'm looking at her, literally in my brain, I'm going, you're not believing a word I'm saying. Wow. Like, wow. Because we were together then. We were husband and wife then. And she's not believing a word I'm saying. We had a 4-hour trip from Brisbane, Pine Rivers courthouse, back to Hervey Bay. And I didn't show her the documents. She didn't know I had the documents on her. Okay? Because she never asked the question, do you have it? She asked, does the solicitor have it? I said, yes. She never asked me if I had it. So I had it sitting in my pocket. Okay, so I let her stew on it for 4 hours in this trip back from Brisbane back to Hervey Bay. And she's going, but what, like, how's this all possible, John? I was like, it just is what it is, Michelle. Okay, it just is what it is, and you just need to go with it. Okay. Anyway, when we got back to Hervey Bay, I'm sitting out the back. We're at 14 Aquiline Drive. Okay, I'm sitting out the back, and she's come out and she started asking me more questions about this case being dismissed, this particular charge being dismissed, being unlicensed driving. And I've gone, yeah, well, you don't believe me, do you? You think I'm actually lying to you, don't you, Michelle? She goes, well, I said, don't even go there. It's either yes or no. It's literally yes or no. You either believe me in what I'm saying or you don't. She goes, it's pretty hard to believe. And I said, well, here's the documents, Michelle. And she's going, what? And she's instantly reading them. And she broke. She broke instantly. She started crying. And she's like, come to me and hug me and hug me. She goes, I'm so sorry. It's just so hard to believe, John. I've gone, it just is what it is. What my life is, Michelle, it just is what it is. Okay, as much as it's hard to believe on certain stuff, there's the evidence. You know, those documents aren't mine. It's got the Queensland Police badge and logo and header at the top of the document. It's their document. Okay, and she literally broke down. And she did. So, that was full on. Michelle went through what no man or woman has ever been through ever on this earth. What she faced, she's a true saint, as it's written. There's only 2 of us on the earth, and there's only 1 of us left, being me. And she's a saint. And it's written, and I finished it ages ago. And that's the last book. And it's been sealed, and it's sitting there. When Michelle passed, because a lot of people want to know what happened there, I'm going to explain to Jay and Tanya. Because there's certain stuff that I've given to Australian Retirement Trust, Tanya, to pass on to you. Either you do it, or that's the outcome. That's what's going to happen. It's that simple. Don't ever take my words as a bluff, Tanya. Ever. Your mother did, and she found out the hard way, and she learnt over a 2-year period that my words are always true and correct in what I say. Your mother went through a lot of stuff with me, believe it. And it wasn't until she was baptized that day she snapped out of all of her bullshit. Everything changed that day. I was in my office at 107 Esplanade Tugum. She was down, her office was down one end of the hall, and my office was down the other end of the hall, and it worked great. It was awesome. Literally, she loved it. She had her own big space. I had my own big space. And anyway, I'm there on the computer doing stuff, and that was the second book. Okay, that was the second book. That's what I was doing at the time. And she's jumped up. She goes, I know who you saw. Okay, so we'll just take it back a bit so you understand what actually happened. I'm sitting at my table, and Yah's gone, baptize her in the Holy Ghost. And I was like, whoa, that's hard. And it just come out of nowhere, as it does. It just comes out of nowhere. And I was like, whoa. And I've looked over through the hall, and I've gone, Michelle. And she's like, what? And I said, you're going to be baptized in the next 10 minutes. And she's like, I'd never seen a person so ecstatic. She's jumped up, she's wobbled over to me, she goes, yeah, okay. What are we going to go to because we lived across the road from the ocean. Okay, what are we going to go to the ocean? I said, no, in the bathtub. Okay, Rachel, she knows where I built this bathtub at 107 Esplanade Tugum. Okay, she watched me build it. Anyway, we filled it up full of hot water, put Epsom salts in there, and both of us standing there. It was only Michelle and I. And I said, strip off. You're going to be baptized. She goes, what about Michael? He's living right next door. I said, fuck Michael. Do you care what other people think, Michelle? She goes, yeah, bugger it. Off, and both of us are standing there naked. She's jumped in. I baptized her. She's come up out of the water, and it was full on. It was because she'd just been baptized by me and received the Holy Ghost. And I've jumped in because she's standing in the bathtub, okay? And I've jumped in the bathtub, and we're both laying there in the bathtub, and we're talking, and it was really full on. It was, she knew something had happened instantly when she come out of that water, because I told her to do certain stuff under the water. And it's written in the last book, do this. And she's come up out of the water, and she had this glow on her. Just a glow. Okay, at different times Michelle would glow, just, there's no other word, she would just glow. It's not an awe or an aura, it's a glow in her face, everything, okay? When Michelle, if you look at the photographs of Michelle when we first got together, or the photographs when she was at Yar's place, at Tulgum, then right at the end there, Michelle lost a lot of weight. The more weight that she lost, some reason she was losing weight, the more she would glow. Okay, and at different times, Michelle would glow, literally. Okay, and there's no colour to the glow. It's just a glow. It was quite full on. And anyway, I was sitting in the bathtub, and I said, "How's that?" She goes, "That's like, wow, John, like, wow." Okay, because I say this to you, it was a good 6 months prior to that, being in Darwin, okay, when we got shrouded, and we did. It's there, it's documented in the last book. Everything's documented now. It's all there, okay, and God in heaven sent fire down and he devoured both of us. And he did. And Michelle knew it, I knew it, and if I can say this, that was the point of 99.99, Michelle had snapped out of all of her earth bullshit and really like, wow, John, look what's really going on. I said, I'm the one teaching you. So you got to catch up to me. Yeah? So that was about 6 months prior. Then she got baptized, and when second she got baptized, that was the best 6 months that we had had. It was full on. It was real. Now I've got Michelle. I got the real Michelle. None of yous ever saw the real Michelle. Ever. Ever. Holy Ghost was running through her big time. Anyway, to go back to it, that's the whole, you got to understand the Holy Ghost side. If you don't understand that, you'll never understand a word I'm saying ever. Ever. So Michelle's down one end of the hall, I'm down the other, and she's going, I know. And this is the same, this is what I mean, it happened on the same day she was baptized. Everything happened that day. Everything started that day. I listen and I act. He says to do stuff, I do it. There's no debating on it. We use want to debate it. As Jacqueline Lattenstein, she witness, and Brett Bunnell chosen, I've commanded them to do stuff and they've done it. They know the consequences. I have watched it for years. Did I understand it at the start? No, didn't understand it at all, and I didn't. I'd be lying to you if I told you I understood it from the start. No, I did not. It wasn't until the desert. Then a lot of stuff clicked in, and when I command stuff, if you don't do it, hey, you brought it on yourself. What do you want me to do? So Michelle's down one end, I'm down the other, and she's jumped out of it, because I'm looking at my computer, but I've seen her. She's probably 10 meters away from me on the hall, okay? And she's going, whoa. And she's looked, and I'm looking at her now, and she goes, I know who you saw. And I'm going, you lost me there, babe. Okay, who did I see? And she's come running down, okay? And she goes, and she's grabbed me by the shoulder, she goes, it was Jesus, Queanbeyan, who disappeared in front of you. And boom, it hit me. Because I knew instantly, bang, yes, it was Jesus. Because he disappeared. He was standing in the mist. Okay? And I'm going, wow, and she sat down and we were just talking. Okay? And if I can say this like this, the Holy Ghost speaks through you then. Okay? And I'm just sitting there listening. And she explained all this stuff that was, how do you say that? She had no comprehension of what she was explaining at the time. She was not there for one. She was never in Queanbeyan. We didn't know each other. But she explained what took place. She explained it was him. She explained a certain sentence when she was speaking. Drop the codes now, John, because it's at the end of it. Okay, and that meant that part of the code was at the end of the sentence. And I've gone, whoa. Okay, and when she said that, I said, just pull up for a sec. I need to let that settle. Whoa, that is at the end of it. That's at the end of the sentence. But it was at the start of the actions. Before I even stepped into the ACT, I'd seen Jesus, Brian, his new name, but you know him as Jesus. This man, as you'll read in book 1 to the people of the saints of the Most High, was there and he vanished like that. It's there, it's documented. I'm looking at him and I was like, where did you go? What the hell just happened? People just don't vanish in front of you. But it was him. Okay, and she's like, and she was teary. She goes, that was Jesus. I said, yeah. I'll say it like this. She was at the start right then. It was just a bit before that. She started to take it on board but reject it. Because it's too much. It's way too much. But from being baptized, she took it on board. It was bang. She had no choice in it now to take it on board. And that is literally who she is. And she broke down because she goes, you've seen him? I said, yeah. But you've seen Yah, as it's written, twice before me, but we're together at the same time. You were the one who spoke it first before me. And exactly what the scriptures say, that's what would happen. Okay? And it was at the front of Tulgum and Gladstone. Okay? But when it comes back to Jesus, she broke down because she knows who Jesus is. And she knows who Jesus is to her. Yeah? And a bit later, I'm not sure the time period here, but that's when she broke down again because she knew who she's seen out the front of the house was Yah. She goes, that's Yah. Okay, and both of us, when we seen Yah walking, I was like, and I still kick myself to this day. I didn't jump up out of my seat and go. Same as Gladstone. I was, 3 meters away from him? You're sitting there reading the paper. Michelle went into Woolworths. Okay, and I'm just standing there staring at him, going, you look like... But if I can say this to Janelle, you would understand this. The people that were there at the hospital when Yah passed knew Yah beforehand. Yah was like that. He was bloated. You'll understand what I mean by this. When he passed, you seen what Yah was like then. He was very deflated. That's what I saw and what we saw at Tulgum and what we saw at Gladstone was a deflated Yah. So it was very... I wasn't into the deflation side. I was into the fullness side. No, it's not Yah because Yah was more fuller. But it was Yah. It's that simple. And it was. Because it's written that would seem. It was written that Michelle would seem before me, but would be together at the same time. And exactly. So did I know that? No. Like I said, except for when I left Tulgum after Michelle had passed. That was full on. Everything from when Michelle passed, from 2011, I had to live through it first, then it revealed itself in the scriptures. He'd go read, and I'd just open the book or straight on the computer and start reading, and there it was. When Michelle passed, he's going, go there. And I've gone, what? I don't want to go there. Doesn't matter what I want to do. So I went there. Okay? And I knew it's written. You got to remember, this is written. It's all been sealed, 3 months ago or something? It was sealed. Okay? So you just can't make this up. Yeah? I knew in my soul I'd be rejected there, where I had to go. I just knew it. I didn't want to go there, but I had to go there. I got there. Still didn't know why I was there at all. And he said, get on a plane and go to Darwin. And that's what, literally from Wagga Wagga, New South Wales, to Sydney, to Darwin, 4 days in Darwin, back to Brisbane, to Sydney, to Wagga, and I stayed literally the next 120 days, 4 months exactly, it said. And it was. But up in Darwin, he showed me exactly what I'll be facing. It's the first, and that's what I'm saying, from when Michelle passed, he's showing me the future side now. He never shown me, it was me working stuff out, predicting, yes, this is what's going to happen, this is what's going to happen. And sometimes I was wrong, 100%. And sometimes I was right, and I didn't like it, because it's too much when you know what's about to happen. And when I was up in Darwin, he showed me through the scriptures, read that. That's what you're about to face. And I understand why he showed me. Because if you didn't give me pre-warning, it would have went south dramatically as soon as I got back to Wagga Wagga. It would have went south like that. Because I knew what I was stepping into now. And I had to document it and watch it and understand it. And that I did. It's full on. Absolutely full on what took place there. To who those two people are is absolutely full on. The reason why Tanya and Jay, I left Tugum, I was coming back. Not until I found out what you done, Tanya. It's written. That's why I say, get on to Australian Superannuation Trust. Get the document. Have I then got anything to hide? No. Do you? We'll find out. But the reason why I left for a couple of days is either, John, you get out of that place or you burn the fucking joint to the ground. And it was him telling me. And I knew, I know me. I know me. And I would have burnt, if Michelle and I own that place, I would have got Zappy and Rocks in the car, sat out the front, walked back in with fuel cans and doused the entire lot in fuel and burnt it to the ground. That's what would have happened. That's why he said, John, get out. And as I do, I listen, but it was the thing of, I got it. What the hell's just happened? What the fuck has just happened? Still to this day, don't know. Don't know, Tanya and Jay. It's written. It's all written through the scriptures. I had to give pre-warning. Like I just said, I got pre-warning of all this when I was in Darwin before I flew back to Wagga Wagga, New South Wales. But why it happened? All I can say is, you didn't live what your mother lived. You have never lived what we have lived. We don't have a choice. You do, Tanya. You're in this thing called self-determination. Same as Jay. Same as Brendan. So the thing is, what crushed your mother is when you put that restraining order on her. When it comes to Michelle's mother, not once in the entire time that we were together, not once did Michelle ever speak bad about her mother. Not once. Literally not once. But when it come to you two, she wiped yous. She wiped yous because of what you'd done in the Pine Rivers courthouse with the restraining order. She broke down. She couldn't grasp what yous had done. Because all that she's trying to literally ever do was help. You have no comprehension at all to who your mother really is. At all. There's no comprehension. But I'll say this to yous, to all of yous, and that's beyond Tanya and Jay, Brendan and your mother, Michelle's mother, and this is directed at literally 8.6 billion people on this earth. The day you die, you'll find out exactly, literally in about an hour after you die, you'll find out exactly who Michelle is. And I can assure you this, it's not Mary. That was her last name. It was Michelle, my wife. What your mother had gone through is, the only word that comes, it's horrific. It's horrific for the amount of information, literally, because when she started to read, she read. She read and read and read and read and read and read. Okay, it wasn't until she was baptized where everything changed. The entire lot changed that day. And like I'm saying, that last 6 months that we had together was incredible. Was absolutely incredible. But we'll be together again. I know that for a fact. It's written. So when it comes to what your actions are, Tanya, you want to make sure of one thing, that all your actions are not legal, not lawful, righteous. If your actions aren't righteous, your defense is gone, Tanya. And I just sit back and watch. It's that simple. Okay? Because the simple fact is, as I've explained through other videos, I can put a command out there, then I do nothing. I do not a thing. I just sit back and watch then. Literally. You've been commanded to do something, Tanya. And that's cease and desist in what you're doing with the Australian Retirement Trust. Because your actions aren't righteous. So the funny thing about that is, same as, what's his name? Ben Mullen from the Australian Federal Police rang me and said to me, quote, "Are you going to come for our commissioner?" At the time I was like, what? Where are you coming from? Because literally I was back in Wagga Wagga, still trying to come to terms with Michelle in here, come to terms with the people I'm living with. Then I got Ben asking me that question. And I was like, what? What's written, Ben? John comes unto you on the way of righteousness. In other words, you have no idea what righteousness is. All my actions ain't lawful. They're not legal. They're righteous. I don't have to go for anybody on this earth. I sit here. Literally. I can put a command out, as I have done, Tanya. I don't have to come for you. Why? If you take my words real, they're true and correct. What do you want me to do? Go and ask John Singleton. Go and ask Brett Bonnell. Go and ask Jacqueline Lattenstein. I don't have to do a thing. Nothing at all. Because the strange thing about this is, when Ben said this to me, Ben Mullen, I think that's how you say his name correctly, are you threatening our commissioner? I don't have to. So if you honestly think, this is to anybody, that my commands are just whatever, so be it. I don't care. I don't care. Because you just missed the first video where I said, right at the first video, I don't have to put commands out. But when I do, they're not from me. I can assure you of that. I don't do anything. That's what you don't understand. It's not me. I'm just the one saying it. Am I going to come for you? No, I don't have to. Am I going to send anybody to come for you? No, I don't have to. Because you have no comprehension to who I am. And to me, that's like, wow. Wow. Because all the evidence is there in front of you. That's to Jay, Tanya, Brendan, and Michelle's mother. All the evidence is there. I've been factual the entire time. I can't lie to you. I don't care if you like it or not. It's irrelevant to me. And it really is. Because like I said, the day you die on this earth, whenever that is, I don't care. But about an hour after that, you'll find out, and it's too late. It's too late. You'll find out everything that I have said from 2011 to right to this second is true and correct. What do you want me to do? Lie to you? No, it's not going to happen. So I don't care if people believe my words. I sit back and watch, and I can't keep repeating that over and over and over. Because there's other certain people on this earth, they know. They're well aware. What I say is true and correct. To the point of, when Michelle and I moved in, this is directed at Reese P. Kershaw, the Australian Federal Police. When Michelle and I moved into 107 Tugum, just before we left Darwin, Yara gave me a dream, and it was a very strange dream, but I knew pinpoint to what it was. But it was a strange one. And I said to Michelle, I said, okay, this is what we're going to face when we get down to Tugum. So always remember, Michelle, what comes out of your mouth. You've got to be conscious. You've got to be conscious. And she goes, wow. And like I said to you, at that point, she was 99.99% believing everything that I'm saying. It wasn't until she was baptized, bang. And it wasn't until the dream Yah showed me. He showed me exactly where it was. And I said, we went to Brisbane. We got the place at Tugum. I said, come, Michelle, let's go to Brisbane. Let's get the guy. So we went to Brisbane. And we won't go too much into that, but we went and got an investigator in sweeping cars, planes, houses, whatever you need done, as in tracking devices and communication devices, as in bugs. They're listening to everything. As I stated to Reese P. Kershaw when we're in Darwin here, whoever they are, Reese, they got to change their car if they want to keep following us. Because Michelle and I said, Michelle, see that car? It's following us. And she was like, oh, yeah. That was the first time she saw it. I've seen it a couple of times. Then we were driving out one day out of 5 McCourt Road at Yarrawonga in Tugum, in Palmerston, where we lived. I said, look, Michelle. She, oh, they are again, John. I said, yeah, they're following us everywhere. And that's why I did the video to the Australian Federal Police. I don't know if it was you or I don't care. And I don't care who it is. I don't care. That is, if you're going to keep following us, change your car, guys. It's pretty obvious. You got to change your car. Okay? So when we got to Tugum, Michelle knew exactly what she was walking into. I knew exactly what we were walking into. We got the container there. We unloaded the container, done the house, off to Brisbane, paid the money, $2,500. They've come up. I said, it's just there. Don't worry about the rest of the house. It's somewhere in here. And it took him 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And he's looked, because you can't speak. And he's looked at me and he's gone, yeah. As in, go downstairs, I want to speak to you out the back. Okay? And we went downstairs and he goes, come, let's go out the front. We'll go up the road. Okay? And he goes, how did you know that was there? How did you know? I said, it doesn't matter how I know. So it's there, eh? He goes, yeah, I'm going to find it, I'm going to pinpoint it, but it's definitely there. And that was a listening device. Is it bugged the house? And like, we didn't know? Huh? We didn't know this? So we went back. Got it. He's gone there. And as he said right down the road, he goes, do you want us to take it out? Do you want me to take it out? So no, don't even touch it. Just show us where it is. And it's the same as 14 Aquiline Drive. The house was bugged there, but we know who that was, don't we? We know exactly who that was. Because they started speaking our language. You gave yourself away. So we knew the house at Tulgum was bugged. We know for a fact you heard everything. So that's Therese. Who knows who it is? Don't care. I don't care. Michelle didn't care. We knew it was there. Yah gave me pre-warning. Same as, well, like I said, and I'm repeating myself, same as walking into Wagga Wagga. I had pre-warning. Did I have pre-warning with Michelle back in Brisbane when she did the actions? I knew for a fact something that day was going to happen big time. Something bad is going to happen to Michelle. Simple as that. And it did. So I don't know what more to tell you. Well, there's thousands of things I can go into. Literally. But as it is stated now in a document to Australian Retirement Trust, this is a fact in issue. So apart from that, it's a command, Tanya. If you don't follow it, enjoy the consequences. Because I don't care what happens to you. And that's the same as Michelle. Michelle wiped her hands with you because of what yous had done. But in saying that, Tanya and Jay, no, it wasn't good what Michelle did as well. And it wasn't. It's deception. I don't condone it, back it at all. I give everyone, here you go, there's pre-warning of everything. It's the same as this. You even desist and deceased with what you're doing, Tanya, because it's a command. That's all I can do. Now I just sit back and watch, as I have done since 2011, as other people have watched. And I highly suggest the other people go and see her and inform her, just drop it or bad shit's going to happen to you like it did to your mother. And that was the court case and the police and all that. Out of not giving me a simple pie. That's where all this started, all of this started there. The entire lot of this started by your mother not giving me a pie. Because I asked her, go get me a pie. And that's exactly what I said to her. You need to go to the service station and get me a pie. Because the strange thing about this, Tanya, we've never even met. Jay, yeah, we have, 100%. But you, Tanya, never met you. But you hate my guts with a passion for some reason. As it's written, you'll hate me without a cause. And that you do. Because I've done nothing at all wrong. Nothing. Not a thing. All I did was love your mother. I loved her from the second I saw her. When she walked through the door, that second, I fell in love with her. She overtook me in everything that I had. A lot of people know that. It's documented that I fell in love with her, but I shut my mouth and I wanted to know who she was. So literally I didn't say anything for about 3 months. Not a thing. Nothing. We lived together in Brisbane for a long time. I wanted to know who Michelle was. Then we were back in Tulgum and I put it on her. I said, Michelle, it's time to confess to you. From the first day I met you, when you walked through the door at Yah's, I fell in love with you. It's that simple. It's the first time I've ever felt love. And I felt all this connection to you. I'd never been married in my entire life. Your mother, Tanya and Jay, is the only woman that I've ever married and ever will marry, ever be with. What do you honestly think I'm going to go get a girlfriend and be married again after your mother? Wake up to yourselves. You have no comprehension to who your mother is at all. At all. She's the first and last in wife and in lover, and I miss her so much. You have no comprehension how much I miss her. But apart from that, I've said what I've said. It's all documented. And as I've stated, there's witnesses to that Tanya and Jay, and that's Sandra and Wayne. I didn't know a thing about it. Nothing at all. Not a thing.